fans. Hope you're doing well. So, for some reason, the NHL seemingly does not want goalies to fight. And I don't know why that is, because everybody that watches hockey loves to see a goalie fight. It's one of the most majestic things on earth. People still show videos and they still replay that fight of Patrick Waugh and I can't even think of who it was. Oh man, I want to say it was Chris Osgood. It was Avalanche and Red Wings, and they went at it super hard, and it was a great fight. If you want to Google that, you can find that fight. But recently, Jordan Binnington of the St. Louis Blues, he's the goalie, he got pushed a little bit after someone scored a goal on him, and the guy was kind of just skating. If you watch the clip, he was kind of just skating, and he hit Binnington, who was kind of in the way, and this guy took massive offense to it and came in to the scrum's the wrong word, but to the celebration, the huddle, and he just came in swinging fists. And so Marc-Andre Fleury, the goalie for the Minnesota Wild, came out and it was like, I'm going to fight him. And as soon as you see Fleury's down there, he takes his helmet off. And there's actually he was mic'd up for that game, I guess. And somebody had the mic footage of it. You can find that too. He's like, I'll fight you. Let's go. And he's got a big smile on his face. He's ready to go. And the refs stop everything they're doing. And when the goalies are about to fight, all the players that are fighting stop what they're doing too. They're like, oh, play that goalie fight, and so everybody wants to see it. And for whatever reason, the refs are like, no, and they come running like they're protecting their daughter's virginity, and it's just like, why? Why is it that? And you think about it, and it's like, well, if the goalies fight, that's gonna be the only thing that's on, the highlight reels. That's the only thing the sports analysts are gonna talk about for the next week, which is are they though? It's March Madness, whatever. But also so what? People are like, oh, it's a bad representation of hockey. No, people fight in hockey. It's part of the meta game. It's part of the sport, in that fighting is not just I hate you, I'm gonna punch your lights out. Sometimes that's the case, but that's such a small percentage of it. A lot of the time, a fight occurs for one of two reasons. And the first reason is that we think you are doing something wrong. The refs are not taking care of it. We will take care of it. And so you'll see that a lot of times if somebody's being a little chippy, they're doing cheap shots especially on against a star player, they'll send out the enforcer to come and be like, we're gonna fight now. And most fights, I think a lot of people don't understand this, most fights are prearranged. So when you see it's a face-off and the guys drop their gloves, they talk right there at the face-off. They're like, are you going? Which is kind of the question of I am gonna fight you. Do you accept? And if the other person says no, I guess that's their choice, but that puts a big target on their back, and they're definitely gonna get rammed somewhere. They're gonna get railroaded somewhere down the line if they don't accept the fight. And it's part of it is there's a little bit of toxic masculinity to it, because it's of course I have to stand up and I have to fight. I am doing a bad thing, because they know they're doing the bad thing. They know why someone wants to fight them. It's not a surprise to any of them. And so the reason they're being chippy is because they're trying to they're trying to get the other team off their game. They're trying to annoy them, and they might be trying to instigate the fight, because especially if you could get a star player to fight, well, now they're off the ice for 5 minutes. It's not bad. You trade lower end player for their higher end player. That can sort of tilt the ice a little bit. But the second reason why teams fight is because they're behind in the game and the momentum's not going their way. So sometimes players will go out and they'll start a fight to get some momentum going, and they'll get some energy for the team. And even if they kind of lose, the team's like, oh yeah, that guy is willing to go fight for us. And so the interesting thing is, like, you almost never see goalies fight because they're so far apart. You know, they're obviously on other ends of the rink. There's not a lot of reason for them to fight. And so, for a goalie to fight, because goalies can't cross the red line, the center red line. Goalies aren't allowed to. Like, it's a penalty. I'm not sure what the rule is. I don't think they get kicked out. But they definitely get a penalty for doing it. So they almost never go across the line. And so, in this case, Marc-Andre Fleury is quoted as saying, like, everybody was fighting, and so I figured, that's my guy, I'm gonna go fight him. And also, there's other quotes from Marc-Andre Fleury, like, one of his bucket list items to do while he's still in the NHL is get into a fight, which he's never done at that level. Apparently he fought a lot at the lower levels, which is exciting, because goalies don't fight, usually. But if he was gonna fight anybody, I think everybody kind of likes Marc-Andre Fleury. He seems like a pretty great guy, and he's a really good goaltender. Whereas Jordan Binnington he's kind of a piece of shit. Like, he throws a lot of temper tantrums. He does a lot of cheap bullshit, and, like, somebody kind of needs to punch him. And if Marc-Andre Fleury had been the one to knock his lights out, it would have been basically historic. It would have been a big moment. Because I think just the way Binnington acts, I don't think he could fight very well. I think Fleury would have taken him to the cleaners, and so it's probably good for Binnington that the ref stepped in. But I think it's bad for hockey fans, because I think all of hockey wanted to see Binnington get his face smashed, and I mean, there's no way that all of hockey doesn't love a good goalie fight, and so. You think, like, well, it doesn't represent the sport. The sport's more than just fights. And you're like, well, yeah, it is, but, like, fighting is part of it. And so, like, I don't know why they're so against the highest. It would be like if you knew a golfer was going to shoot a hole-in-one, and the golf director was like, can't have this. Don't show that. We don't want people to think it's easy to those hole-in-ones. It's like, no, it's... Because think about it, it creates FOMO. So, like, you want to watch NHL games because the goalies might fight. Look, that's so exciting. Like, everybody wants to see that. It creates free earned media for the NHL, and so people talking about the sport, good or bad, they're talking about it. You know, there was a commentator on ESPN. His name's Steven Smith, because he was, I don't, for some reason, this guy is like, they're like top sports analyst, and he was quoted as, like, saying something about hockey. Was all I know about hockey is that the ice is cold and the puck is hard. And you're like, why would you brag about being that bad at your job, that you're a sports analyst and the topic of hockey comes up and that's all you can contribute? Like, what? Like, you know, there's, like, part of it's like, oh, relatable, I don't understand hockey. Like, if you're a football guy or whatever, like, cool. But, like, maybe ESPN, because they paid all that money to show NHL games, maybe they could hire some analysts who could infuse some passion and explain, like, a little bit about why fights happen and kind of how they are arranged and why it's important to the game and why it exists. And so it's like, if you have that goalie fight and you could understand the context, it's not just like, this is an amazing fight because it's two goalies, goalies fight, it's a big deal. It's like, no, there's storytelling to it, and I think when you infuse that storytelling, like, yeah, it's like kind of like wrestling. It's like, who cares who's fighting? But when you add the characters, you're like, everybody's excited about it. And so I think you get an analyst who can tell the story, who can explain the context of fighting in the metagame and explain Marc-Andre Fleury is this loved guy, Jordan Binnington is kind of a heel, people don't really like him, and a fight between them would have been majestic if the fight had gone off. Like, so I don't know. Gary Bettman is, he has this idea of what the sport should be, and I don't know if it's like, oh, it should be family friendly, and it's like, oh, what? I don't know. So I'm at a loss for it. I wanted to see the fight, and you're watching the game, you're like, yeah, let's go fight. Flowers, just go punch him. And also just the idea that everyone calls him Flowers. It's like, yeah, that guy, I want to see him punch him, especially Jordan Binnington. That guy deserves a punch in the face. Anyway, I don't think Gary Bettman's watching this, but if he is, what the hell, Bettman? Let him fight. So, I don't know, maybe they're saving that for the playoffs. They're saving the big, for the pay-per-view. It's good, that's Bettman. You gotta watch it on pay-per-view. That'd be great if they, if Flowers challenged him to a boxing match or something. Just for charity. I don't know, something. It'd be fun. I'd pay money to watch it. So anyway, that's all I got today. I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope that turns around for you real soon. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.